Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to check today's episode out. And guys, today I'm just gonna do a video. It doesn't have anything to do with fishing. It's something that's sort of been on my mind lately, and one of the things I like to do on the channel here is I like to do a little bit of everything. I think keeping the channel diverse, it keeps it fresh, keeps it interesting, and a lot of times, I like to give my opinions. This is a teaching channel, yet it's an opinion channel. One of the things that's been on my mind a lot lately is bad people, and people that take advantage of other people, people that abuse everything, people that are self-serving and they wield their power at the expense of others. And I want to have a conversation about that to sort of draw some attention to this topic. So that's what I want to get into today's video, and definitely curious to get your guys' feedback on that as well. Guys, I'll tell you right off the bat before I get into this, it's like how this came up and how I'm so sensitive to bad people is the fact that when I grew up, I had a very innocent upbringing. I lived in a small little town outside of Joplin, Missouri, and it was like growing up in the Andy Griffith Show. Everybody knew everybody was friendly. There was never anything weird going on. There wasn't any bad people in the neighborhood. The grade school I went to was so great. It was like so innocent. It was just like the perfect upbringing you could have. Just innocence and not being exposed to any of the injustices or bad things that go on in the world a lot of times. So that sort of set a foundation for me as far as my expectations on human behavior. And once I got into junior high school, I went to a junior high school that, was in Joplin, and it had a big cultural diversity of people, a lot of different backgrounds, and a lot of mean people in it, a lot of bullies in it. That was my first, exposure, to bad people. And one of the things I've noticed throughout my life, I've really been sensitive to this as far as not having any respect for people like that. People that are bullies, people that use influence, people that seek to gain power and profit at the expense of others. And that's one of the smartest dudes I ever met in my life. He was this old Apache, medicine man that used to, do sweat lodges and have, different type of activities up in Kansas City, Missouri. And we were talking about evil, one evening sitting around the campfire, and that's what he said. He said an evil person is somebody that tends to want to gain power and profit through the expense of other people. That's the definition of evil. And it got me thinking about like that. And on top of that, I remember, one of the things that really got me into this also, thinking about this, is my Army Ranger buddy, Sergeant Major Rodney Smolak. He always told me, that, his deal, it's like his team that he had, his Ranger team, he goes, we made bad people disappear. He said that was it. He said, that's what we did. 3 tours in Vietnam, he said, when we found bad people, we made them disappear. And I found that to be like such an exemplary, endeavor as far as, not saying that bad people need to be exterminated, but that was war at the time, and there was a lot of heinous activity going on. That's what those guys did. They made bad people disappear. But anyway, back to the modern day here, what we have in here. One of the problems we have in society today is we give bad people too much power. We enable bad people to have power. And there's a lot of different realms that this goes in. Probably the most obvious realm of bad people exists in our politics today. There are so many people in our political system on every level of politics that basically do that. They seek to gain power and profit through, the apathy and expense of other people out there. And that is, it's like a sort of like a unchecked overambition, some serious character flaw, but we see that evident. We see people that are in positions of power in politics that abuse that power, and they cause other people to lose their integrity and their ethics and their spine just because they think they can get something out of that person, because that person is a powerful person that has been unjustly or unfairly given power. That's one of the big things. We see it in the business community a lot of times. When somebody wields a tremendous amount of financial, leverage, that's a powerful thing, and they can influence and they can wield that power in very dark, very disturbing ways a lot of times, and they do. So politics and business are two of the biggest areas that we see that in. Now, one of the things about this is we have got to do better as a society in terms of not allowing people like this to have power. And it's like when you have people that are in the positions of power that they sort of like they not only that they abuse that power, but they try to do it in a sense that makes it seem like it's benefiting everybody, but in reality it's not. So one of the things that I think that everybody's got to be very aware of in our modern day society is whenever you have a chance to not give somebody power that doesn't deserve power, you have to do that. Because the only way that we are going to improve as a society and improve our planet and improve our way of life is we have to have people in leadership positions and positions of power that operate from the levels of intelligence that include kindness, empathy, compassion, courage, critical thinking skills, people that put themselves on the back burner to try to benefit others out there. And we don't have that right now. It's just like, for example, you'll have some CEO of some corporation that, pays himself $75 million a year salary while he's paying his employees minimum wage or something like that. We see that in politics all the time about, people rise to positions of power because they are basically puppets to, special interest groups. Special interest groups fund these people. They act and they vote in a certain way that may not be for the best for the country or for the citizens of this country, but it benefits a very small minority of people, like this some type of a good old boys club. And the good thing about this, as citizens of this country, we have the ability and we have the power to remove those people from power. You can do it through your vote in politics. You can do it by not supporting, different type of entities that operate in a non-ethical fashion or a little bit shady fashion. A lot of different things that we can do with that. But one of the things that one of those wake-up calls that you have in life, it's like, this will always stay with me throughout my entire existence. It's like that experience that I had as a kid about everybody getting along. And it's like, I'm not talking about you just got along constantly, but there was never there was never meanness to it. There was never like somebody trying to get something over on somebody else or somebody trying to, squash somebody else to advance themselves. It's like everybody just got along and they didn't argue, they didn't fight, to the extent that just minor stuff like that. But there comes a point where, everything changes. And one thing that sticks out in this, I remember that throughout my entire grade school time, I never had any type of an interaction on a negative level with anybody. And when I went into junior high, into that big school, I was confronted by bullies that would come up and just pick on you for no reason whatsoever, other than trying to exert their power or exert their dominance over you. That's one of the reasons I got into martial arts at an early age, is I was tired of being bullied. So, I learned how to fight so I wouldn't be bullied anymore. But that's on a microcosm. That's something that everybody should do out there, is be aware of those bullies. Now, the bully that I talked about was a seventh grade, kid that was a lot bigger than I was. But you have those same type of bullies today. You have those same type of bullies on every single level of our social and cultural stature out there that tries to take advantage and intimidate and, basically power people into doing what they want to do to fit their own agenda, regardless of what anyone else thinks. So I don't know if this makes sense a lot, guys. It's just something that's been on my mind a lot. I've noticed it a bunch over the past, probably 8 or 10 years, about how there's so many people in positions of power that do not deserve that power. They do not have the integrity or the ethics or the fortitude to be given power, but we have fell into some type of a phase within our, our country's history out there, that we tend to give power to people that do not deserve power. And that, if you look back historically through, our history, that has not really been the case a lot. A lot of times somebody's character and their ethics and integrity, it shines through, and people respond to that. People respond to courage and integrity and, kindness and all those positive aspects that people have. But we're just in a weird time right now, man. We're just in a weird time in a lot of different phases of our culture. But, we just need to get centered and grounded, and we need to start rewarding and encouraging people to have those qualities that I just talked about, that everything opposite of being mean, bad, evil, dark, self-centered, narcissistic, everything like that. That is dark, that's evil behavior that we have got to transcend as a society. And I'm hypersensitive to it. It's like I just don't have any patience for whatever. And personally, guys, I don't have any respect. If I don't have any respect for a person, I don't care what position, I don't care what position they are politically, business-wise, cultural, whatever it is. I have no respect for somebody that's mean. I have no respect for anybody out there that is a bully. I have no respect for anybody out there that thinks they're better than somebody else. I have no respect for anybody out there that tries to use their position to advance themselves in a power structure or a profit structure at the expense of other people. And the only way that those people get to that position is they are given that power. They have people that enable them to do that. And once you take those enablers away from those people, then you start to get better people in positions of power, true leaders. And that is one of the things that we've been able to have as a society, prior to recent history, is the fact that we've always had a lot of people in positions of power that did the right thing. So I don't know, man, it's just a few random thoughts that's been coming up on my mind. It's been surfacing a lot lately, and I'll be curious to get your guys' feedback on that as well. But anyway, just a little bit different video today, and hope you guys are well, and really appreciate you tuning in. We'll talk later.